What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo.
Happy Saturday, everybody. I hope everybody's doing okay. I took a little break because I had some personal stuff to go through, but it was great to see that a lot is happening this weekend. Just this weekend, one of the most important events in the study of phenomenology is taking place at Rice University in Texas. I am obviously talking about the Archives of the Impossible conference, which is led by Professor Jeffrey Kripal, who was on the show recently. And we spoke about the archives, but I wanted to talk a little bit about how important that initiative is, because the archives has it's a repository of authors and creators and experiencers and scientists who have done studies in about different types of phenomena, and they've been like saved in that repository. So this has like a historical record of a lot of different studies and drawings from experiencers, for example, a lot of different things. This is the poster for this year's event, Archives of the Impossible. And it reads as follows. I'm going to read it to you guys. It says, such a project is based on the wager that new theory lies hidden in the anomalous, that the paranormal appears in order to mock and shock us out of our present normal thinking. Seen in this way, psychical and paranormal phenomena become the still acknowledged, unassimilated other of modern thought, the still unrealized future of theory, the fleeting signs of a consciousness not yet become a culture. If, however, paranormal, it follows that text can also work and look a great deal like paranormal phenomena. Writing and reading, that is, can replicate and realize paranormal processes, just as paranormal processes can replicate and realize textual processes. This is what I finally mean by the phrase authors of the impossible. That's a quote from Professor Jeffrey Kripal, who wrote a book called Thinking Impossibly. And he talks about this very openly, though. And he's doing these conferences every year. And this year, they had presenters like Professor Diana Pasulka, Dr. Gary Nolan, Dr. Kevin Knuth, Professor Jeffrey Kripal himself gave a presentation as well. And I have a collaborator and friend by the name of Anthony Sadar. He has a podcast called Obliterate the Construct, where he speaks to experiencers, because I think it's important to do that and to have these conversations, right? Because, for example, this channel, it covers a lot of different aspects. It covers news, the politics of UFOs, crashes sometimes, sightings sometimes, but Obliterate the Construct. And to be honest, a lot of what is done at Archives of the Impossible has to do mostly with experiencer data. And I think that's where this whole conversation is taking us, if I am completely honest with you, because, when I first got in this, I looked at all the different tales that I was reading, all the different accounts of what was possibly happening. And I kept hearing people saying stuff like, yeah, there's a galactic federation, or yeah, there are like 30 different races of extraterrestrial intelligences. And all of that, I just kept wondering and just saying, like, is that real? Or could that be part of this lie sprinkled with a lot of truth in it that is like designed to distract us from what's really going on? And so far, and I'm going to be completely honest here, I don't know what exactly is going on, but I know a few things that seem to be real. Due to the data, due to the historical accounts, due to the effects that it's had on people, So let's start with the abduction phenomenon. That one didn't really start that long ago. It's been happening since the secrecy started happening, about 80 years or so. And this phenomenon is real. There's people that experience it. There's people that have positive and negative experiences, not necessarily just abductions, but there's also contact experiences inside the rooms of people. For example, James Yandoli from Engaging the Phenomenon, he spoke to me about his contact experience when he was a kid. And he talks about shadow beings that he could hear their telepathy. And he also has had contact with beings made of light. That's what he claims. There's also the Whitley Strieber story, the author who wrote this famous book, Communion, that talks about his abduction experience. And for many, Mr. Strieber's story is a little out there because he goes into really specific details that can be a little troubling for some people to accept. But the fact of the matter is that more and more people keep coming forward. And when Whitley Strieber released that book, that cover that he printed in his book, that resonated with thousands and thousands of people. And he received thousands and thousands of letters. A lot of those letters have a lot of different drawings attached to them. And Mr. Whitley Strieber just visited. He's right there currently in Texas at the Archives of the Impossible conference. And he said this.
This is Amanda Nedham, who has collected all of the art from the communion letters, and it's a vast amount of it, and it's extraordinary. Amanda's going to tell us a little bit about it.
So within the thousands of letters in the Ann and Whitley Strieber collection, we have hundreds and hundreds of drawings. Many of them are in pencil or pen, but a number are also in pastel, watercolor, marker, and they really are across this wide spectrum in terms of what they represent. So we have a number of different types of beings and crafts. We have mappings of where there have been implants that move around in people's bodies. So really a wide array.
Thanks, Amanda. They are absolutely astonishing.
I know.
Okay, so that's real. That happened to people. People have been reporting on abductions for decades now. Another aspect that I see that is happening, that is a phenomenon that is real, that a lot of people reported, is sightings. The most famous case perhaps is Chris Bledsoe, who wrote a book called UFO of God, and he attracts orbs, and he does it constantly. He records them constantly. He claims that he has up-close footage. I don't know why he hasn't released it yet, but it'd be nice to have some of that being released. But that is not only happening to him. It has been happening to a lot of people throughout history, not just recently, because I just finished reading the second book that Dr. Diana Pasulka wrote about UFOs, which is called Encounters. And she has been studying this on a serious fashion since 2012, I think. And initially, she was just like me. She thought that it was possible that there were extraterrestrials involved in all of this. And then she realized that it's not like that. She realized that throughout history, all of these saints and people who saw different lights in the sky, and they confused them for angels. It's essentially kind of the same thing. They've been getting into people's rooms as well. When they have these contact experiences, something happened in the body and mind of these saints that gave them some type of gift or ability. And to me, that is strangely familiar to when, for example, a near-death experience happens, or Do you guys remember when Chris Bledsoe lost his wife when he was younger, and then a lot of different traumatic experiences took him to the place where he is today, which is that he attracts these orbs, and he also claims to have a gift of healing. I don't know if that's real or not, but if we go, for example, to the Mexican culture, we can see that Pachita, for example, and many shamans had these abilities as well, but they didn't have that religious connotation to them. But it's very similar. It's kind of the same thing. And shamans do have this culture where when they see a kid that has a higher level of intuition compared to other kids, they start taking them through a path of the shaman, and they teach them different things. It depends on the culture too, because, for example, in Mexico, they do rely a lot on sacred plants to hone these abilities. But, for example, in the Middle East, or like in India or places like that where yoga and meditation is more prevalent, they do it through breathing exercises and deep meditation, and they get to similar states of consciousness. And they also have a slightly different interpretation, but to me, it's kind of the same thing. That is real too. And it's also well documented in history and history books and sacred books everywhere. So there seems to be some type of connection between traumatic or experiences, near-death experiences. If somebody goes to war, suffers PTSD, that also like triggers something in them. I know that Jake Barber called it stress inoculation. So that, I think, is also real. The orb phenomenon is real. Another thing that I consider real, that I think is happening, is these bodies that were found in Peru, the Nazca bodies. These beings have tridactyl features, and at a certain point in history, they were living beings. And then also the large hands that they found, they carbon dated those, and those are like 6,000 years old. So that size of the hand coincides with a being that should be over 8 feet, something like that, or 9 feet, something like that. So what's that? And that's real too. That hand, those hands are real. So what's that? That's physical evidence. So can you see, like, the grays are reported everywhere. I don't know if the bodies of the Nazca beings are the same as the grays, but there seems to be some kind of a correlation. I still haven't been able to connect the beings with the UFOs, the Nazca beings, because according to reports of abductions and all that, there are UFOs related to the grays. Yeah. The Mario Woods story, he saw like a giant, massive fireball. And when he was looking at that, 3 little beings, grays, presented themselves to him. And he had an abduction experience as well. Also, Dr. John Blitch recently came out talking about his abduction experience as well. That is also real. So do you guys see where this is going? And we have to look at the data and the stuff that is real, that has been reported for a long time, and just focus on that. Whatever other noise you hear around, we don't really know. And the government doesn't know either, I would say, because there are things that they do know, but in terms of like races and all this stuff, I wouldn't go that far yet. You know, we need to like have the precise data and then make an assumption or make a decision to say whether this is real or not, or this is worth keep studying or not. Psi abilities, there seems to be some kind of a connection historically between ancient civilizations and some type of technology that we don't have today. If you go to any megalithic site, you will see many of these clues. There are like ancient bases that I spoke to Matt Bell about. There are the pyramids, obviously. There are I spoke about the Fuente Magna recently, where this is like an artifact that was found in Bolivia, that on one side it has the classic Aymara writing, which is from the area. And then on the other side, it has cuneiform writing, which is from the Sumerians. And the Sumerians supposedly existed thousands of years before the Aymaras. So why is that artifact displaying two different cultures that are thousands of years apart from each other? So those clues also give us a reason to think that there may have been some type of a connection between these ancient civilizations and this ancient wisdom with some type of ancient technology that we don't understand today. Anybody who goes down that rabbit hole also does it knowing that there is data there that you can't ignore. So that can also be considered as a possible part of the archives of the impossible, you know? But what I want to talk about also, and this is what I'm going to close with, is a presentation that Colonel Karl Nell gave on the archives of the impossible. He showed two slides that I'm going to show you guys. Well, one slide that I'm going to show you guys, but let's look at the first one that was presented in the first Soul conference that he presented on, where he presented that famous campaign plan lines of effort, you know. And my friend Anthony wrote Colonel Karl Nell at Archives of the Impossible today, which was on April 4th. Notice the difference between 2024 and 2025. And he says non-governmental UAP disclosure plan, which is what he presented this week. Phase 1 is off target or on hold until the UAP Disclosure Act gets passed. Then they added also healthcare and human potential. So this is the first slide that he used, that he presented on the first Soul conference, if you guys remember that. So we were on target for last year, but the UAP Disclosure Act did not pass. Therefore, here's in red because it didn't pass. But they added a few things, you know. They added human potential. But yeah, Karl Nell has been not that active recently. He recently left the UAP Disclosure Fund. We don't know why he did that, but you can tell that this guy is not going to give up. He's going to continue pushing for this. And he's just like switching as he goes along, switching the plan, switching the dates, adding some stuff. This non-governmental UAP disclosure lines of effort also has to do with whatever Skywatcher is doing. But there's a lot of people that is like on this, investigating this. And that is what Archives of the Impossible are. That is a citizen effort from academia, the scientific community, a lot of people from the intelligence community, some of the military too, content creators like myself. There's a lot of them there that always visit these conferences. And no matter what the government does, the people are going to keep investigating this because we know that there's something to it, you know? And honestly, I will keep reporting on the government's efforts. I will keep trying to bring you guys the news and everything, but I don't have high hopes right now with the government's efforts because they've tried a bunch of different ways and they haven't been successful. That does not mean that ufology isn't real, that ufology doesn't continue. Conferences like this one are the best example that the people are still very thirsty for the truth. And they're going to keep trying. They're going to keep digging. So if your goal is to just focus on the government disclosure, I would advise you to focus on different things at once, not just that. And if you want to know more about what's going on, investigate stuff like this. Try to stay updated with these conferences, with these efforts. That is where the data is. That and all the literature as well. But let me know what you think about Karl Nell's presentation and the archives of the impossible in general. Do you think that efforts like these are going to help move the needle forward? If not for disclosure from the government, citizen disclosure it is. And I think it does have the potential to help tremendously. So let me know what you think in the comments about this. Where do you think the movement is at right now? What do you expect, for example, from the Skywatcher team, which is like just around the corner? It's about to happen. So we're going to get something in 2 days on Tuesday. I'll be reporting on that. And let me know what you think about the overall archives of the impossible. What would you, if you went there, what would you like to see? There's a bunch of stuff there, a bunch of historical data of every single case you can imagine that is famous is probably there. There are a few that still aren't, but they're working on that. Professor Kripal told me about it. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about it. What do you think is the most real stuff that you've been able to corroborate that is happening? And I know there's a lot of people that probably will come at me for saying that talking about races and this galactic federation is part of the misinformation campaign. I do believe that right now. I am open to changing my mind if I see evidence, but all of that stuff is just stories according to what I've investigated so far. And it's also tied to the whole UFO-tainment movement that was already in place before the 2017 article. So we need to be really careful about that, how we tackle that and how we look at that, because, and I'm sorry to mention this, but Mr. Rick Doty is part of that disinformation campaign. He was part of that. And he talks about races. He talks about the Galactic Federation, all of that stuff. So we need to learn how to identify when someone is talking about this stuff in order to distract us from what's really going on, and learn to identify which tropes and which storylines are the real ones. It's tricky. I still haven't figured out most of what I'm looking at. And I've told you before, the one thing that I managed to corroborate for myself is that we do have some type of ESP abilities, and that it is induced, it is awakened by some type of traumatic experience. That is real because I experienced it. And I can talk to you about all the synchronicities that I've been experiencing for years now. A lot of stuff that happens, different signs, different interactions that I have with people that make me confirm that this part, at least, of the phenomenon that is happening, or phenomena, is indeed real. That's why I try to look at Dr. Greenberg's work so much, because he also investigated this because he saw it with his own eyes. And that's why he became obsessed with it. When he saw Pachita do what she did, he wrote multiple books. He studied multiple shamans. He started teaching kids how to read without looking, because he knew that there was something to that. So that's why I'm more like anchored in that. But that doesn't mean that I'm closed off to whatever else might be happening. I just want for people to understand that whenever you see something or hear about something, you need to also ask for the data and corroboration from different sources, so you can see if you're just being taken for a ride on like a goose chase, or if you really are on track. So let me know what you think about this in the comments. What do you think is real out of everything that's being talked about in the zeitgeist? I would love to know your take on this. If you like the content you see, I'm going to ask you to please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you can get notified when a new video drops. If you want to support the channel in any other way, I'm going to leave a few links in the description. You can also become a member. You can also support us on KGRA. Whatever you decide to do, thank you for the support, as always. And that's it for me today on this video, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Remember to stay curious and stay inquisitive. Bye.